Hi, I'm Lisa Beaudoin. Welcome to Lisa's chat room. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you how to create a playbook plan for the chemical awareness playlist that's on my Lisa's chat room YouTube channel, and we're going to make it in Google Sheets. But before I continue, I have to disclose to you that I'm not an expert in anything. So anything I share with you, if you try it, use it, or buy it, you do so at your own risk and peril. And also, I'm not affiliated with any of the companies or products that I talk about or share with you on my videos, nor do I get any endorsements from them. So before we get into it, I want to talk about the process I use to process everything called wiggling the thumb. Now, I talk about this in my Therapies for a Better Me playlist series. And basically, it's the way I organize things in my mind. And really, it's just a metaphor, but let's use it here. We're going to look at both our hands to create awareness. And then we're going to look at our right hand to create focus. We're going to look at the thumb to question, and then we're going to wiggle that thumb. And what we're doing there is we're putting evaluations in place, and then we're checking them to see. And this is what we do all the time, really, most of the time. So I wanted to bring that up because what I'm going to share with you today is the playbook plan is basically leading you into this concept. If you haven't worked in Google Sheets, you can click on the video below where I share with you how to create a Gmail and how to create a Google Sheet. I am going to walk you through a little bit here. The reason I really like spreadsheet applications is because you can have more than one spreadsheet and you can have them tying into each other, or you can have them separate, and you can literally create an application within the file itself. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to walk through that a little bit here. And basically what I'm trying to do is bring you to that wiggling the thumb thinking within the spreadsheet playbook plan. So what I'm doing is I'm creating spreadsheets on each thought process of this wiggling the thumb. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. I want to first just show you the things that you're going to need to do. So first thing you're going to need to do is you need to go to my YouTube channel, and then you need to click on playlists. And down at the bottom here, I've got chemical awareness, my issues with formaldehyde. Now you're going to click on that, and what's going to happen is the very first video in that playlist will start to play. So once you open up this page, you need to press the pause right away because we're not going to watch the video. So basically here we've got our playlist right here, and it's consecutive. In other words, I've created it so it's numerical and it's all lined up for you. You could literally push this loop playlist and play one after the other after the other. That's perfectly fine. But a lot of people don't have time for that. And plus, we want to track what we're learning. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this information and putting it into our playbook plan in the playlist so that we have a playlist and we can keep track of what we watch and our thoughts on it too. It's not just about the awareness. It's now bringing it into focus. What do we think about that? What are our thoughts? What are your thoughts on it? So it's all consecutive. Now, the one thing I want to mention here is that I have been going in and cleaning up each one of those videos because I know I say, right. Sometimes things are redundant. So I've literally been taking the time to go in and clean up the videos, and then I'm creating a new thumbnail for them. It's an opportunity for you to rewatch them and just listen again, because I know I kind of go off on the original ones. I'm going off on little tangents here and there. So these are more focused and more to the point and less time consuming. So the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to create a Google Sheets. And what you do is you have to go through your Gmail at first to get to the drive and to create the Google Sheet. Here I'm going to click the 9 dots here. This is the Google app icon, and I'm going to go to Drive. Now, if I click Drive, what's going to happen is I'm going to get this nice page, and this is where you can set up your drive, and it's sort of like the cloud. It has the same concept as that. And you can even buy more storage if you want, because it comes with a certain amount of storage, but not a whole heck of a lot. But it is a nice way to store things. So you can store your playbook plan on here. And as far as I know, and I can't be 100% sure about this, but I think Gmail is pretty safe. Now, the thing is we're not going to be putting any personal confidential information in this playlist anyway. This is just general information and, just thought processes here. So hopefully it's okay. But I will tell you that what I usually do with my Google Sheets is I download it into my Microsoft Excel. I've been working with computers since they came out, and I worked with Lotus 123 first of all, and then I worked with Microsoft, I think, since 1995. So I'm very familiar with Microsoft Excel and Word and Access and PowerPoint and things like that. The Google Sheets is a little more cumbersome for me. I'm not quite used to it. And it's even harder when you're trying to do a video, but I will muddle through and we will get this done hopefully in no time. So basic thing to do is to click new. And when you click new, what'll happen is a brand new Google Sheet will appear right before your eyes. So a few things before we move forward with this part. First thing is make sure you put the title into the title bar. I put Chemical Awareness Playbook Plan. First thing. Second thing is it's a good idea to make a copy. And how you make a copy is File, make a copy, boom. And you can make the copy. Now, what I usually do is I usually go like this and I type the date. I go copy and then 10/30/23. And that way I know that this is from 10/30/23. Now, in a little while, if I've really added a lot of stuff to it, I'm going to make a new copy and I'm going to name it that date. You see what I'm getting at? I know you do. So that's what I would do. Always keep a copy. I don't know how many times I've messed up in the past where I didn't keep the copy and I had to write something all over again, and I will do that. So that's one thing. Next thing is the way I see things here is I look at this as this outer part, the menu and the tabs, that's called the framework. In every application, it holds the data, whatever it is, and inside is the canvas. So in Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel and other spreadsheet programs, there's many spreadsheets to one file system. And how that is handled is through these tabs. Each one of these tabs links up to the corresponding spreadsheet that you've created for it, which is really super nice. Today, we're going to talk about the chemical awareness and the chemical reduction playlist and the product research. We're going to do those three things. Now, before we get into the chemical awareness tab, the last thing I want to talk about is the zoom feature. Here we have the little zoom click down list, and you can do it that way. That's perfectly fine, but I usually don't. I usually come into this blank space and I will push down Control and hold it down, and I will use my mouse scroll to go up and down. It just works easier for me. I just like it better. So I wanted to make sure that you know that you can go up and down that way. It's much easier. Otherwise, if you use this, the menu does not get enlarged. So now we can get into the nitty gritty, the canvas of the chemical awareness. And basically that's walking through the playlist, but you can also add other information here, other research that you are finding out on the internet or books or whatever it is. So, but let's walk through just how to set this up. We've got the header on the top, and it's pretty self-explanatory. We've got date, location, title, link, follow-up, and notes. Really easy. Now, if you've noticed, I've got some arrows here, and those arrows are hiding columns that I've made for myself for other things that really don't have anything to do with you. However, you can put in columns too and hide them and move them around. And the thing is remember, this is in development stage. Everything is. They're placeholders. And so it's just a way to contain this information. And I may change this around. I may say, I like it better this way, or, oh, I need to add this. You may do the same. No problem. And actually, go ahead, knock yourself out, because that's the way you should be thinking. You should be always inventing and imagining and developing. You should become a developer. So that's what I do here. So I've got my header row here, right? And then what I did was for the color, all I had to do here was highlight the row. I click on date, and then I hold the shift down and click on notes. And then I can go into my paint bucket and I can make it any color I want. And then to freeze it, what I did was, you can be on any row. You can be 1 or 2 or whatever. You just go into the view, freeze, 1 row. And if you're like down here, which not too many people are going to put a header row down there, so you can actually freeze it down there as well. See, it actually tells you up to row 8. So you can freeze it that way too as well. Usually that's not going to happen because you're going to freeze the top row. So the next thing I did was I created a border. And the reason I did that is because then I can put in formatting and I know how far I've gone. And so let's do that. Let's go into date column here, and we're just going to pan down. We're blocking it. I'm just holding down the left cursor, and I'm going to just create a date format here. For this, I will show you that in a second, how I created those links, link up. And basically what I'm doing is I'm putting in wherever I get the information, and then the title of the information and the link. It's basically like a library for me. The easiest way to explain this is just to show you, and it's very, very easy. You just go into my playlist, grab the first title by blocking it, holding down the left cursor, press Control-C, go over to the chemical playbook, go into the title. Now you could put the title in here, and I'm actually going to delete that out just so you can see. You could put the title in here, but I don't. I go up to the formula bar right here, and I put the title in there. I Control-V. I do it that way. And the reason I do it that way is because then I keep my format. Whatever my format has been in here, it stays. Because sometimes if you go to a site and you're grabbing something, you're going to get the format that they formatted it in. Where if you go into the formula bar and copy paste, you won't have that happen. However, you have to make sure that you're in the cell you want to be in. And this is just where I'm getting that information. Here, what I've done is I'm going to delete these. I'm just going to put vid1. This is the way I'm just used to doing it. Go up into that box, go back into the playlist, and then left click onto the internet link. That will bold the whole thing. Then press Control-C, then go back to your playbook plan, right click on vid1, pan down, insert link, and then Control-V and apply. I am aware they have a new feature called chips on here, but I just like doing it the old-fashioned way. You can look it up if you'd like. And then what I'll do here is I'll just highlight this column, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to center it. That way now everything I put in here should be centered. This one, by the way, is to center it up and down within the cell. So that's what that's for. Right. Now I'm going to go back. And now I'm going to go to the second video. And it's really simple. You just go down to this video, click it, pause it. You don't want to watch it. Pause it, highlight the title, Control-C, go back over, go into the box. We're pretending it's not there. And then up to the formula bar, Control-V. Here I'm going to write vid2. And I'm going to go in there, just leave it sit there for a minute. And then I'm going to go up to the internet link. I'm going to left click, Control-C, and then go back to my playbook plan, right click on vid2, go down to insert link, and Control-V. Easy peasy. I've removed a few of the rows in the table because I wanted to be able to manipulate and have you see it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create these check boxes, and all you got to do is either highlight by dragging your mouse, or you can click in the first cell, press down shift, and then click in the last cell, and that will block it for you as well. Or you can click in the first cell, grab the cell selector, and just drag this down. So there's many ways to do things They have it where you have like 3 or 4 different ways of doing things, and that's where it can get confusing. So just figure out a way that's easiest for you. But the point is to block that column and then go into insert checkbox. And that's what we've got there. Now I'm just going to take this column out. There's a few ways that I handle blanks because I am a database programmer and we don't like blanks in any of our information as far as in the tables and the forms and whatnot. So the only blank I want in this table is the date because I'm going to add that as I go. So I know that I don't have a date in here. Now, when I go to watch this video, what I can do is say that I've only watched a portion of it. I could write up to and the minutes, whatever the minutes are. The other thing I do with other blanks is a special little code. So if it's NA, instead of writing NA, I put 2 dashes. Or if it's something that I'm researching, which we're going to do in the product research table, then what I will do is if I can't find the information, I put a dash. And what that means is I've reviewed it. I just haven't found that information. And the one thing you got to realize is sometimes you're just not going to find the information and you just move on. Perfectly fine. So, but that's what I do here. Now there's a couple ways to handle the notes. One way would be to insert a comment by right-clicking into the cell, and you could go down into the option list and insert a comment and add your comment. When you add a comment, I would suggest that you add a date. That's another pet peeve of database programmers. Add the date whenever you can. The one thing I don't like about the Google Sheets comments is that when I hover over, I see it and I don't want to. I know that it's there because there's this triangle. Now, so far in the research I've done, you can shut this off in Google Docs by going to Tools and Preferences. But so far in Google Sheets, I haven't been able to do that. So unfortunately, there's no way to shut this off as far as I know. If you know a way, then please let me know. So I'm not going to use a comment in here. So I'm just going to right click on that cell, go back to comment, click the options and delete it. What instead I'm going to do is I'm just going to write the comment right in here. Now, if I don't want to comment, then I'm going to put the dash. And that dash tells me that I don't have a comment for this video. Once I've watched the video, I definitely do that. I leave the blanks for things I have not addressed yet. That's very, very important. Right. The last thing we're going to do is we are going to make a filter. So let me bring this down just a little bit. And the way you make a filter is click on the date, hold the shift key, click on the notes, go up to data, create a filter. And once you create a filter, what will happen is you'll get these little icons right here. And that way, what you can do is you can filter certain things. So I'm just going to enter website and video just to show you the example here. Now I'm going to click on location cell, and here I've got my filter options. And basically those options are by color, by condition, or by values. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear all, and I'm just going to watch Lisa's chat rooms videos. Unfilter, what you do is you just go and select all, pan down to the OK button, and you've got all your information back. Maybe I want to just hone in on one topic or even one record. So the way to do that would be to go into your filter, find filter by condition, and here you can filter by different types of conditions. Is empty, is not empty, it contains dates, greater than or less than. So if it's a numerical topic, but here I'm just going to put text contain, and right here I'm going to type chemical. Now you're going to have to pan down to the OK button. And now what's happened is I see these records and it says chemical in it. Now the one thing I want to mention here, and I'm going to make this bigger, is you can see there's a little filter button there. So if you're filtering, that's what'll happen. So if you go to your spreadsheet and you're like, where'd my data go? Double check to see if you have a filter on, because more than likely that's what you've got. So I'm going to pan back down. And here what I'm going to do to clear that filter is to click the filter button, go back to the text contains, and press none, and then go to OK. And I'm back to my list. Another little trick here is say that you've done a filter and all of a sudden you don't see any data. A real simple thing to do is to go into the header bar and just press the down arrow and you'll have your data right there in front of you. I think we've got this tab pretty much worked out as far as the headers and whatnot. You can always change it to whatever you'd like. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to take this one off because that's just an example. And you can put anything you want in here. Basically, this is kind of like a library for you where you can just add information as you go and you can watch it when you want to. And it's a really nice tick list for you to have for your playbook plan. This is the initial part of the playbook plan. Now we're going to move on to the next tab. This is the chemical reduction playlist tab. When I'm building something, I just start and I put in a name and I'll say, oh, I don't like that name. I'll rename it, blah, 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 blah. And I just go back and fix it. So here I've got chemical reduction. I'm going to rename this to chemical reduction playlist. Yeah, there we go. And the way you make the tab, by the way, is by clicking the plus sign and you can add the sheet. This is basically, we call it a tab, but it's the hyperlink to this spreadsheet. So if I click this one, I go back to chemical awareness. If I click this one, I go to chemical reduction. Now, what I'm going to do really is I'm going to name this differently. I'm going to name this something about assessment. What should we name it? Let's think. Home assessment. Let's name it home assessment just for now. Doesn't matter. Okay. It really doesn't. It's just a placeholder. So don't get caught up in it. Here, what I've done is, again, I've created a little header category from hours plan to hours schedule. And what is this about? This is about that video where I'm going around the house and I'm saying, okay, how can I reduce the cleaning time once these chemicals get in my house? Now, for those of you that are not chemical sensitive, you might say, oh, I don't need this. Okay, that's fine. But this was really important to me because if I bring this chemical dander in my home or someone else does, I need to get it out of my home as quickly as possible. So I think that's really important. The other thing is, this is really a good idea as far as cleaning up your home. It's a really good way to organize your house. It is. So here, I'm just going to show you a brief explanation. I've got front room, bedroom, laundry storage. So my front room, what I'm saying is initially it took me 4 hours to clean. Now, if I take out 2 fake plants, now it's down to 3 hours and 50 minutes. And now I'm down to 3 hours and 50 minutes. Now what am I going to do? So now maybe what I'll do is I'll take and put most of the frame picks in other room, which I did. And wow, that's going to save me a lot of time. Maybe I'm now down to 3 hours because it takes a lot of time for me to clean those. And so here I'm not going to write anything. I'm just saying every Monday I'm going to clean my front room. So I'm only going to do that at the top. And now I'm going to come down and again, now I'm going to put 3. See what I'm doing? All right, same thing with the bedroom. Now here for laundry storage, what I'm doing here is I'm reducing my clothes because I have a ton of clothes. I don't know about you, but I just accumulate clothes. And through the years, I've just kept clothes that I really don't need. And so also too, I look at it and I say, what's the easiest to clean? That's the truth. Now, some things that are, lacy and stuff, I'll keep that. Yes, of course. But I'm going to reduce my footprint. And I usually take all the stuff over to like a donated store. And what I'll do is I'll just go through, maybe I'm going to go through my socks. So here I've got reduced down to 2 dozen socks, right? And I don't need a time here. And that's perfectly fine. Don't get tripped up about it. I don't need to do that. And maybe I'm going to, every Tuesday, I'm going to go through my laundry storage. And so here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy that laundry storage down to the next cell and paste. And so here, maybe I'm going to say, I only need 20 blouses. Really, I have like 100. I swear I do. It's like, where did they come from? It's just me buying, I buy secondhand mostly, but so here I'm going to say only need 20 blouses. And then here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, now I'm going to show you a different way. I'm going to show you how to drag. Now I've dragged that down, and maybe I just need only 10 pairs of jeans. So now you get an idea of how this works, right? It's really easy peasy once you see it. And this is really basically, it's not a formula spreadsheet. We're not creating any formulas here. This is the simplest thing you can do. It's a tick list is what it is. We're not going to be making a formula in here. So we're just going through and creating tick lists, and that's perfectly fine. So that's what we're going to do. Maybe in the bedroom, maybe it takes me, I don't know, 2 hours. And I mean, start to finish, from ceiling to floor, everything, cleaning the walls, cleaning off the frames, the pictures, the mirrors, mopping the floor, changing the bed, everything. So here, what am I going to do? I'm going to put away a lot of stuff, put away all the makeup in top drawer, which I did. I decided I just used my top dresser drawer for all my makeup and all my hair supplies. And that has cut down at least down to 130. And maybe I'm going to clean my bedroom on Wednesdays. And you can put it any day you want, and you don't even have a day. It's totally up to you, but this is how I do it. And it kind of helps me. What am I doing? I'm taking and I'm creating awareness, but I'm also focusing in. I'm making a plan. What can I do about it? Making that plan. Actually, this is kind of fun. I know you're like, oh my God, I don't have time. It's actually kind of fun. And if you do it with the kids or brainstorm with your partner, it's kind of a nice thing to do. And you can share this with your partner, with your kids. They can have Gmail accounts, and you can share this whole thing with them, and you can see who's doing what. You can be the administrator. They're not able to change it, but they can look at it. Finally, on this table, what we're going to do is we're just going to add some not applicables where they're needed. Right here is one, but here where the blanks are, I'm going to leave them blank because that means I've yet to put information in there. So that's good. We'll come down here, a couple there, and then here, a couple there, and a couple there. And we are good to go. I already put some there, and that's done. So now we are on to the next tab. The last spreadsheet we're going to talk about today in this video is the product research spreadsheet. So we're going to create that, and then we're going to just have a little discussion about how to research products. So first thing you do is, of course, click your plus sign here to add a sheet. Once you've created the tab, just right click on it and rename it. Then you're going to make your header row, and my header row has the following topics. We've got date, category, brand, chemical, generic name, type of use, general issues, toxic with a question mark, toxic notes, MSDS with a question mark, MSDS notes, general notes, hyperlink, and I'm going to actually write hyperlink 1, and then I'm going to write hyperlink 2. You can probably and will probably have more than one hyperlink. I have plenty of hyperlinks in my database. Here, I'm just going to even these out. There we go. Now I'm going to go back to date, and I can pan across, and you can see that this is a little bit different because I have a freeze right here, right past the chemical column. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First, go ahead and highlight all your headers and make them whatever color you want. What you'll do is you'll click on freeze row 1, but you're also going to go into column D, and you're going to go view, freeze up to column D. And what that will do is anything to the right will be frozen. So now I can just get to the information pretty quickly here. So that's pretty nice. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to again block everything, and I'm going to use my arrow keys to go out and down, and I'm going to create a border. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some formatting. So I could either just drag my cursor, or I could just use my arrow key with the shift key and block things and go into the date format. And over here, if you've noticed, I've got yes or no options. So what I can do there is I can highlight that information and go insert checkbox. And it'll put a checkbox in there for me, which is really a nice feature. And it will be great in the future when you've got quite a bit of research in here and you want to do some sorting and some review and whatnot. So now that we've got our spreadsheet set up, the next conversation is what's in the spreadsheet as far as this information when it comes to research. What you want to try to do is research the same exact way for each chemical within each product. Same exact thing. And that's why we've got the brand name, we've got the chemical, and we've got the generic name, because sometimes those chemical names are just really confusing. And usually there's some type of base chemical in it or a generic chemical name that's a little more familiar. Here we've got the type of use, and the type of use would be, is it a surfactant? Is it a cleanser? Here we've got general issues, or you could just put a description there. That's totally fine as well. Most importantly, of course, is it toxic? And the notes to that, and then the MSDS sheet and the notes to that, along with general notes, and then the hyperlinks 1 and 2. Now over here, we have category, and I'm going to show you how that works in just a second. It's pretty easy. Once you see it, you'll go, oh, I get it. So, but when we pan over here, we're looking at these toxic notes, MSDS and MSDS notes. This is where we want to show our concern. And I'm going to actually take these and just minimize them a little bit. There we go. So you can see this a little bit better. There we go. So now you see these 4 columns. This is where your information is going to get, where you can create focus. And that's what the whole point is try to focus in and see this information. And I'm going to show you a really quick and easy way to do this, by the way. It's not going to be hard at all. I'm going to give it to you all today, and you can start researching as soon as you want. And I want you to understand there's a few pockets of information. So the first pocket would be the information as far as the category. You know, is it a hygiene product? Is it a cleaning product? The brand, and then the chemicals within that brand, right? So that's one pocket of information. Now, after we fill in this pocket, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to this pocket here. And this pocket is basically asking the potential of hazard within each chemical. A couple ways of looking at this is generally and also through detail, but we do it really quick and fast. That's what I do. I do very quick and fast when I'm researching. So we're going to be looking at, does this chemical have a potential of being toxic? And or does this chemical have an MSDS sheet on it, meaning a material safety data sheet, otherwise now known as a safety data sheet. So we're going to look at that, and we'll look at that after we start plugging this information in. Then we backtrack and we look over at the general information. Hopefully that makes sense to you. This is how I do my researching. This is organization at its optimal, where you're looking at these pockets of information, going down in patterns, but also going over in the record. And I'm always talking about that in my videos. You're looking at this information quickly, but focusing as well. And that's very, very important for you to understand moving forward. What we will do now is we're going to start filling in the general information, and then we'll move on from there. Basically, what I've done here is I put the category here. We've got cleaning supplies, we've got laundry soap, fabric softeners, dishwashing detergent, shampoos, all under the hygiene. So does cream rinse. Anything hygiene would be listed under hygiene. Food. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. We've got categories, and this is really important because you're going to be looking up categories. And the thing is this is all done on the fly. So you might do it like the laundry soap on one day and the fabric softener on the next day, or you may do a little bit at a time. Totally up to you how you do this. Now we're going to move to this pocket, just like I mentioned a moment ago, and we're going to be talking about this information. I'm going to start with the MSDS information first. So, but what is an MSDS sheet? A lot of people don't know what that is. And I'm starting to learn more and more, and I do have some experience in it. I did build a database once for a company to try to remove all of a chemical out of their products. So I kind of understand the way it works. We've got a bill of materials, we've got the ingredients, and what happens is with the ingredients, usually when you're looking at the back of a product and you see that ingredient list, it's usually from heaviest ingredient to lightest ingredient. That's how it's always been as far as I know. And again, I'm not an expert, but this is what I've come to find. Now, the other thing is we have regulations, and I'm talking about the United States here. That's where I live. So you'll have to look at your country, if you're in a different country, to look at the regulations you have and put them accordingly for you. But here in the United States, we have government agencies that oversee the products in our country. One of them is OSHA. That's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. It's the government agency that oversees a lot of the occupational things that are going on in the country, along with what's called an MSDS sheet and an SDS sheet. Now, what I understand from this is these are the sheets that where a product has some type of hazardous chemical, they declare that chemical and the amount of chemical which is in that product. That's how I've come to know it. And so that's one of the things you should be made aware of. The other thing is, well, how does that get regulated? And I believe that comes from what's known as the EPA. Now, the EPA is the Environmental Protection Agency, protects people and the environment from significant health risks, sponsors, and conducts research and develops and enforces environmental regulations. I know how to research this information, and I'm going to show you it's really not that hard to do. So don't cringe. Right? Just stay with me. So first, before you go any further, what you should do is you should research OSHA a little bit. I'll put a link below. Here's their website. Find out a little bit more, read through this information. And the next thing is to go to the EPA website and just brief through that information as well, just so you have a general understanding, because I don't have a big extensive understanding, but I just want to understand a little bit of how this works. Now, I'm going to stop here because where I was doing some research and I found another person's YouTube channel where they have a video, just a blurb from Dr. Oz's show, where they're testing some textiles. And according to their tests, these textiles actually are over the limit for our regulations. So I'm going to put a link below for that video as well. And the other part of this is for the disclosure on new imported clothing. Now, that's part of the problem here. Not all imported clothing probably has preservatives in it, but how do we know? Because as far as I know, in this country, the United States of America, when I turn a product around, I should be able to see all the ingredients within that product. I do see some products now, they're saying, go check it out at our website. That's kind of a pain, right? Because you're not seeing it. And what does that do? That makes it where you say, oh, I'll check it out later, or I'm too busy to do that. Yeah. So you need to be able to check that out. And again, I'm going to show you a really easy way to research these chemicals in this video before we're done. So just bear with me. The second thing is I want to show you the general way of looking up and the detail way. So the general way is when we're going to go use an environmental group, the ewg.org, to look up the products. And it's pretty simple. All you have to do is just type in your name here, type in the category and the name, copy that by Control-C, open up a new tab, Control-V adds your detergent there, and then just type in ewg.org. And what's going to happen is it's going to pull that product out of the ewg.org website. And it's a pretty extensive website, so you should be able to find it in there. Sometimes I don't, and then I have to do the detail research, but it's still not that difficult. So here I'm showing you how to research with the ewg.org, but what is it? So I've pulled this information right here. It says they are the Environmental Working Group. It's a community 30 million strong, working to protect the environment by changing industry standards. It says we're not just another nonprofit group, we're a nationwide community. We're advocates who won't quit, scientists that find solutions, people trying to make the safest choices for our health. They've been around since 1993, and they work tirelessly to protect public health. So this is really nice. You can read more information about them, and I would suggest you do that. So far, it's the OSHA and the EPA and the EWG. That's homework you really need to do in order to research it and get a better understanding of what you're going to research and how you're going to research it. And the EWG, this is where the general lookup is, because once you go to look up a product, what will happen is you're going to see an overall grading system for that product. And then you're going to see a list of the chemicals for that product as well. So that's when you can, first of all, pan down and just take a quick look at these chemicals and see the grading system. Me, I'm more stringent. I don't want certain chemicals in my home, but this is all about you. So what you'll do is when you look the information up, you're going to see the list of the chemicals, and all you have to do is copy and paste them over into here. No big deal. Copy and paste them. And you can even write the information about the types of use and the general uses. And even sometimes if it's toxic, and when you are looking up the chemicals, all you have to do is insert a row below to add more chemical, copy this information, paste it down, and then add the chemical name. So this is the only drawback about Google Sheets. It doesn't copy and insert. You have to insert the rows first. So we're just going to insert 3 rows. Let's just say there's 6 chemicals within this product. So I'm going to pre-set up, and then I'm going to copy and paste those chemicals right into here. I'm just going to plot them in and plot in as much information as I can going across. The next way I'm going to look this information up is by chemical details. So I have added my brand X here, and I've added the chemicals, but I've just added one real chemical in here. And actually what I did was I looked up a very popular brand, and I found this chemical off that very popular brand. I'm going to actually look up the chemical detail itself and see if I can find any general information, and also too, if it's toxic or not. And all I got to do is click on the chemical, press Control C, go over to a tab, press Control V, and then type ewg.org, and it will pull up that information for me. So this is another way for you to look up these chemicals. And here it says phenyl, propyl, ethyl, methicone. And again, that's in a very popular brand. I'm not going to tell you which one. You got to turn your ingredients around or look them up this way, and you'll find this sometimes in these brands. So what is the EWG's grading on this chemical? Well, it's a D. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to pan down, and here it says evidence. So it says the European Union Ecolabel program reports this substance is persistent in the environment, moderate level of concern. Here it says it's not anaerobically degradable. Level of concern, some. Here it says shows the substance has moderate acute toxicity to aquatic life, only in household cleaners. Okay, that's kind of alarming. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click toxic. And then I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to copy this information and I'm going to paste it right here. And I'm going to go in my function bar. So I go into my cell, and then I go up into the function bar and I click Control V. And that puts that information into that toxic notes. So here it says suspected of damaging fertility, some. Clear evidence of endocrine disruption in at least one animal study, some. May cause long-lasting harmful effects to aquatic life, some. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what some of these means, but I will look that up and find out what that does mean eventually. I'm not going to do it today in this video. I just wanted to show you how to look something up and just get an overall picture. Once you're done looking up all the information, don't forget to left click on that hyperlink up there and go into your playlist here for this chemical and go over here. Click toxic, right? We've got that. And then we're going to click hyperlink over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this second hyperlink to toxic hyperlink. And we're going to probably put more hyperlinks in here too as we go on. And here I'm just going to write hyperlink, or I can write THP. That would be fine. And I'm going to center this. Get it centered. And then I'm just going to right click into that cell. Go into the inserting link. Click that box, Control V, and then just hit apply. I gotta lower my screen. It's too big. There we go. Okay, there we go. So that's it for that one. So we've got that information right there. Don't forget to put your hyperlinks in. And even if you wanted to, you could add for here, let's add a date. Sometimes I do that too. I'm going to write toxic research date. And then I'm going to create my date. There you go. See, we're doing this on the fly. And so then today, what's today? 10/30. So then if you type 10/30, if you have this in the right date format, it will give you the year. So now we're good to go on that. Remember, we're building as we go. This is a development stage, but by the end of the video, we'll have it pretty much figured out to the way we want it. So based on the information that I've just looked up, in your personal opinion, would you want this chemical in your cleaning products? Not me. If it says some, and I do not understand why it's in the cleaning products. So that's part of the issue. What is this, right? And that is where I have to go out and I have to look at the other information. So we're almost done here. Just a few more things. We're going to be talking about this section here, the MSDS/SDS information. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to change this, because technically now it's an SDS, but it is interchangeable. I do find MSDS sheets out there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide these two columns right here so that I have more room. And so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to click in and just pull, or I can just click in that column and hold my shift key down and click in that column, right click, and I'm going to go to hide. I'm also going to go like this and hide the generic name, the type of use, and all this information up to the SDS so that I'm just centered on that. And this is a nice researching feature too, because you want to just be focusing on what you're looking at. So now getting back to what we're doing here, and I'm going to refer to it as the SDS from now on. What we're going to do is we're going to do a search for that SDS on the internet. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the brand, and we're only going to go into the brand, not the chemical. So the thing is, a lot of people ask, well, what's the difference between a product and a brand? And so I looked that up, and basically a product is a physical item or service, where a brand is a unique identity representing a company. So you could put product X, brand X. I would put the actual name of your brand here. So getting back to it, we're going to press Control C. We're going to go into a search bar here, and we're just going to put the brand C, and then we're going to type SDS, and you can see it's pulling for me. And what should happen is you should pull the SDS sheets for your brand. Usually this works. Now, the other way to try it is where you go into your actual product's website and filter down. So then just filter down into your product's website, first by looking at the ingredients. The SDS is usually followed by that. So if you can't find it by doing a search here or through your product, then what I would do is I would write not found. And while we're at it, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to make a column here to the left of this, and we're going to do the same thing that we did with the toxic information. We are going to write SDS research date. We're going to remove this information here, just take it out, and then we're going to take and create the date format in here, and we should be good to go. So here, what I will do is I can write the date and then not found. So now I know that I've looked this up. The other thing we're going to need is we're going to need the hyperlink to this, right? So now we're just going to write SDS hyperlink. And while we're at it, we're going to make another column over here and we're going to call it research. We'll call it general research hyperlink. Hyperlink. And another one, general research date. Now you can see this is kind of a pain. You can't see it very well. You'd have to expand out. So what you can do is you can either wrap the information, which you would go to here and wrap, and it'll wrap it for you. Or you can go into the formula bar and you can go Alt, Enter, and it'll push down the date, whichever one you want to do. I just did the wrap for now. And here I'm going to do the wrap. We're just cleaning things up here, getting it all nice. I'm going to drag this down just a bit. There we go. So now we're good to go with the general research date, the hyperlink, and with this information. So the last subject I want to broach before we go into the actual researching on the SDS is you may be asking yourself, why is it that we have to have a toxic column and an SDS column? And the reason is, yes, most of the time the toxic column will align with the SDS column. However, you might not find an SDS. And the other thing is, and the other reason is when you're researching that chemical and you're looking up information on it and you're finding this general information like I did, and it's just one thing after another thing after another, and maybe there's just a little concern here, maybe a little concern here, a little concern here, and it's just kind of building up in your mind. That's when you would check that box. It doesn't necessarily mean someone else thinks it's toxic. It means that you think it's toxic. It's not good for you to buy. That's when you would check that checkbox. And so that's why we have it there. And that's why we have the notes section, so that you can date the note and then you can clearly state, I've done my research on this. This is a chemical that I really just want to avoid. I do not want to buy products that have this chemical in it. Now that we've covered all that information, we can actually do the research, and it really should be fairly quickly. I'm trying to streamline all this. So hopefully this will be very simple to understand and easy to use. So now we're getting into the SDS information. This is the safety data sheet. The simplest way to research this is just to take your brand name, what is the difference between a brand name and a product name? I looked that up. The difference is a product is a physical item where a brand is a unique identity. So personally, you could write in, and that's what I would do. I would write the name of your brand of what you're using. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to go over to a search bar. You're going to type the brand into a search, and you're going to type SDS. And what will happen is you will pull several links to different information. Try to find the right one, right? And if you can't find it, then the next thing to do would be to add M. So MSDS, and then hit enter and see if you can pull it that way. The final way would be to go to the brand's website itself and then look up the ingredients. And somewhere in the ingredients area, they usually have a link to the SDS or the MSDS sheet, or they'll talk about safety hazard information, some kind of link like that. So you might have to do a little bit digging, but remember, right now, all we're doing is plotting information. So the only three ways you should research this, we're doing this very fast. This is basically grabbing that information. So doing it these three ways, you either find it with the SDS lookup, the MSDS lookup, or the ingredients list lookup within the product itself. If you can't find the information, then all you'd have to do is go in to your table, write the date, and write not found. That's it. For the hyperlink, you just put this little dash. That little dash means NA, not found, right? That's all you'd have to do. So here I've looked up a very popular brand's SDS, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because really for me, it's my own personal research, just like this should be your own personal research. So the first rule of thumb when you get into this sheet is to double check and make sure that the brand names align. You don't want to be pulling the wrong SDS sheet. Sometimes these SDS sheets will actually show multiple brands that one company is making, and they've just got them on one SDS sheet. Just double check to make sure that your brand is on there. Now, moving forward within this SDS sheet, here's kind of an example of what they look like. The first thing you're going to see is hazards identification after all that general information. And the hazards identification, at least in the United States, if there is a hazardous material and it's declared, then that information should be on the back of your product. I would suggest that you pan down and look through the SDS sheet just to familiarize yourself with it. But where I'm most concerned is right here. This is the composition and ingredients. So I'm taking a look at this. And first of all, when I go to look at my chemical product research table here, make sure the chemicals that you have on your table are the same chemicals in here. And if not, then something could be wrong. Not sure what. Really, they should align up. Now, if you notice in this table, it has common names. So this is a really great place for you to copy and paste that information into your record. And then here we've got the CAS number. We have all this information here. And we'll get into that a little bit more as we move on into the next video. But for now, again, all we're doing is plotting in the information, getting it in there. We don't really necessarily worry about this, but you can see right here, this test was done orally on a rat. This was done orally on a mouse. So there's testing that has been done on animals. And what's going to happen when you start to research your own products is you will start to see this information yourself. Now, there are lots of products out there that do not do animal testing, and they state it on their packages. So you may want to make that choice. I don't want to use this product because they're doing animal testing. The choice is yours, but it's really important to me, for you, to research. And really, that's what I'm trying to provide here. We're almost finished now. What I'm doing is putting the finishing touches on, and I wanted to walk you through these touches so that you can do this to your own playbook plan. In the product research, remember we talked about the pockets of information. I call them pocket clusters or cluster pockets. And this cluster is basically the detail lookup information. So I highlighted this with the paint palette, and I did change this to initial research date. Now I'm going to hide these so we can move on. In this pocket, what I did was I added quite a bit more information here. I'm going to zoom out. I've got the generic name. I changed this to USIN product. And then this is USIN product HPL, hyperlink, any general issues found, general issues HPL, and then general notes. And so that pocket, what I did was I highlighted this to another color. And with that header, I also added a text color of white because that's a pretty dark color. Next is the toxic information. What I did was I renamed this a little bit, and then I just used my Alt Enter key to reestablish these. And then here I put concerns toxic. So either or. So I'm targeting in a little bit more so you don't get tripped up on the fact that it's just got to be a toxic product. You can just make the choice, I don't want to use this, and put the click mark in here. For instance, if the SDS says there's animal testing on it and you've decided you don't want to go with animal testing, you can just add the note animal testing. That's all you have to do. And if you're going to do more than one research, then what I would do is I would have more than one date. So here I would put 10, 30, 23. And then maybe the next time you're researching or something, you wanted to do more, then down here, I would put, 10, 31, 20, 23. That's how that works, just so you know. Next, I put toxic HPL hyperlink. So then I've got that information in there. In the SDS, MSDS information, I did rename it a little bit. I just added research to the date. Next, I added extra columns. And so we've got extra hyperlink information here. We've got a description in the actual hyperlink. Here, what I would do is I would definitely add the date when you're entering these hyperlinks. And trust me, when you start to do this, you will want to add more columns. You don't want to add too much stuff though. You want to keep it very simple and very straightforward. You want to write 1 to 2 words in there if you can, unless you're writing a note from an article or whatnot. And then I think I showed you how to wrap things. All you have to do is go into the cell, click your settings, and then go to wrap. So you can wrap that information. So now I think I've covered that pretty much. We're going to move over. We're going to look at the chemical awareness, and I've renamed that tab to library. And the reason is because I added that information we were talking about. I added that all here. So for the next time, we're going to delve into that a little bit more. First, we'll go through the hazardous chemicals at a glance and just kind of take a look at them so that we can understand them better. Which, by the way, this is a great resource for you to have in your playbook plan. So then again, you can click the hyperlink and you can go look at those chemicals, and you can look at products and see if those products match up with that. The second thing about that is we're going to look at the limited levels, and we're going to compare them against some of the SDS sheets that I found to see if these SDS sheets match up. Once we're done with that, we're going to be pretty much done with that section. It's just a matter of researching it and making up your own choices. The next part of that video will be about the chemical finishing that is in a lot of our cloth and cloth type items, along with other items. And I'm going to delve deeper into that research. We'll make a new tab. And then we're also going to be looking into some of the chemicals that I use that seem to help me dissolve this chemical finishing, such as the glass cleaner. What's in that glass cleaner that's helping dissolve? If I can find some of that information, then that's what I'm going to share with you in the next video. So here we've got the chemical awareness. I've changed that to chemical awareness library. Makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? And then the other tab we did was the home assessment. This is a great little table to have so that you can create an assessment plan in your house and you can just go through things, right? So that's it for this video. I hope that you really like this playbook. And actually, this was a very difficult video to make. It took me lots of snippets putting it together, and I apologize, but it's a lot to talk about. Now that I've shared this playbook plan idea with you, I hope that it's going to help you to research and hone in. And the thing is that's what I'm good at. While I was creating this video, I was even thinking back to when I was a secret shopper. I was literally a secret shopper for a company. So I've done lots of research in my lifetime. Plus, I've built databases for companies, for myself. I'm constantly building some type of database. And usually I use the database now instead of the Google Sheets or the Excel file. But this works just as well. And it's really super nice because you can take and share this with your friends and family. So I'm going to show you really quickly how to do that. You just press this button. Then you just add the people you want to. You can restrict access. You can create different types of limitations within the people that are looking at this information. There's lots of things that you can do. This is a really great interactive application, and I just love it, and I hope that you do too. The last thing I want to say here is this is the structure that I use to create all playbook plans when it comes to using Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. This is how I do it. I have the main tab, and then I have detailed tabs that go out. So, and you can do this with anything that you want, any topic. You can do it with Ancestry. You can do it with contacts. You can do it with everything. And I suggest you look at my dynamics of abuse. You can set up a playbook plan for the dynamics of abuse for yourself. And that's basically my take on how violation occurs. And really, I'm getting into how you can prevent violation from happening to you. So you sort of reverse engineer these models that I've created to create plans to protect yourself. So that's a great playbook plan. The other one is Therapies for a Better Me. I talk about the mental conditions that I have and how I deal with them. So you could set up a playbook for yourself for that. The final one is the parenting playbook. And I think that's the most important playbook there is. I wish I would have had one when I was younger. When I was raising kids, it would have made a lot of difference for me. I didn't have any set rules or anything like that. So what a great idea to use the Google Sheets as a parenting playbook and interact and work with your partner, your family, even your children. Everyone could have permissions on this and you could all look at it all together. So I hope this information has helped you. That's the end of this video. Please subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. And as always, please stay safe and stay healthy. And I'll see you again next time here in Lisa's chat room.